Riding on the wave of a 4-race win streak, Yamaha's Cameron Beaubier is on fire, while 2017 champ Tony Elias' season looks to be going up in flames. Can Tony and the rest of the Motul Superbike field put an end to Cam's recent dominance? It's time to find out. It's race time in Utah right now, only on beIN Sports. Welcome everyone to the MotoAmerica AMA FIM North American Road Race Championship, round 6 of 10 for 2018. We're at Utah Motorsports Campus in Grantsville, Utah, and it's the championship of Utah. Good to have you with us. I'm Greg White. Sitting alongside me is two-time world champion, two-time AMA champion Jason Pridmore. Hannah joining us down on pit lane and on the grid and doing all the duties out in the heat today. Jason, we've seen some spectacular racing so far this weekend, and now it's time for the Motul Superbike class. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking it's going to be interesting because I think it's the hottest it's been all weekend. How these guys are going to manage their tire choices that they made is going to be key. How a few of them are going to come back from a couple of the things that they've done to themselves already this weekend. There's been a couple tip overs and so on. But I think really it's going to be race pace. What is the race pace actually going to be, and are the tires going to be sustained? Because we haven't really got to do any kind of long distance or race distance with it being as hot as it is right now. And you can see a couple of the guys here Tony out on his sighting lap with Jeff May just in front of him.
Well, we can see the heat coming off the racetrack. Hannah, it looks pretty toasty out there right now. How are things going?
How do you know how hot it is just by looking? You're up there in your cushy little booth with your air conditioning. It is. At least I'm getting a tan, I guess. I can't complain. You know, the grid's filling in. I'm excited to see who comes out on top today. It's been kind of a different weekend for them. What do you guys think? Who will prevail?
Well, see, that's a tough question because Cameron Beaubier has been fast. Tony Elias he burned his motorcycle down and done some other things, but it is hot outside. So why don't we go to the track hotspots presented by Suzuki? Jason, since it's so hot, what's the hot places at UMC?
Well, right off the bat, you come down this big, long front straightaway into what they call Sunset Bend, turn 1, 2, and 3 here, were the first hot spots that I really considered because we don't see turns like this in America very often. These are really fast flowing turns that we have here. And if you notice, when you go off into turn 1 here off the start, there's 5 different places that you can put your bike. You can see the feel and how they can spread out. So turns 1, 2, 3 are important because in a sector time, in a fast section like this, you can make up a lot of time and you can lose a lot of time. Our first real passing opportunity as far as going up underneath people will be down into turn 5, slowest corner on the track. You can see here last year Raj made a little mistake and how costly it was. 3 guys tried to get up underneath him there. It just a slow turn, and it leads into another very slow turn, turn 6, right-hander, and then you go into Witchcraft, and then you come into what they call the Attitudes, a fast section. This is the Witchcraft, exit of Witchcraft that you see, and it drops you down into the Attitudes. When you come into here, it's blind. You can't see where you're going, and it's a quick flop, left, right. A lot of riders are doing a quick little short shift up in the 3rd through there as well. They come out of the Attitudes and they go back into 2nd for 13. Then we go towards Clubhouse Corner, another place where we have seen action over the years. I remember a lot of different things happening here, but going down into here, this is really your last real overtaking opportunity before the checkered flag because it becomes a little bit one line down through the last right and the last left, which leads onto the front straightaway.
So if you didn't join us at the very top of our show, we learned that Tony Elias crashed yesterday. A nice, easy crash, but his motorcycle flipped over. It burned. But he is our national champion, sitting 2nd in points. So as he takes his helmet off, we'll do the same. And here's a little bit more about Tony Elias presented by AGV.
When I was little, didn't expect to arrive one day. It was a dream, but dreams to become true, it's a long way and we work hard. I was thinking my career was gone, was done, and wow, was a present. Double satisfaction from where we came from and also win the championship. After calm, good situation, but look, now we are here, and the situation is very different than what we had last year. So, but will be fun, will be interesting, and I believe this year we will fight for the championship until the last moment. Will be interesting.
Tony Elias says he has the feeling back. It's going to be a very interesting race, and it's coming up. So stay with us here on BN Sports, because we'll be back to UMC after this commercial break. Welcome back to Utah Motorsports Campus for round number 6 of the MotoAmerica Road Race Championship, as we're awaiting Motul Superbike race number 1. Join in on the conversation. Look, it's already round 6 here, and you know, who do you think is going to take the Motul Superbike race? Tweet us your predictions, and make sure you hashtag #BeInMotoAmerica. We might take what you got going on Twitter and post it up on air during the race or possibly after the race. So join in the conversation. Let's get down to Hannah Lopa.
I'm here with Jake Lewis, our third place qualifier. Jake, this is your first front row Superbike start. Do you think we'll expect to see your first Superbike podium today?
You know, that's the plan for sure. You know, we've been working hard this weekend, and we got a good package underneath of us. And we were third warm-up, third in Super Pole, and I'll see down the track no one's in front of me, so just try to get off to a good start. You know, the front two guys are going to be going fast, but I feel like I have a good pace, and I'm just got to be smart. You know, it's the hottest it's been all weekend, so there's obviously, I think, going to be a little bit of mistakes, but if I can get off out front with those guys early on, I feel like I can go with them, and want a podium pretty damn bad, and going to do everything I can to make that happen for the M4 XR Suzuki guys.
Best of luck to you, Jake. Thanks.
I love that.
Yeah, it's great.
I love that.
Look
determination.
determined and ready to roll.
Yeah, so Jake Lewis having a run for the M4 XR Suzuki team, a great qualifying effort. And of course, this particular race going 17 laps to find out what's going to happen, including that guy right there, Cameron Beaubier, on an absolute tear. 4 race wins in a row and now pole position. Let's go down to Hannah with more.
Josh is just getting his helmet on here, but I'm just curious to see what you think about this 3-spot penalty. Obviously, you qualified a little further ahead than this.
It's kind of bullshit. I crashed yesterday in practice, and same thing happened. That happened in Laguna. Right handlebar was off, and I rode it back to the pits just fine. So it kind of sucks, but it's just one day, and you know, I like battling through the pack beginning of the race anyway, so it'll make for some fun. I'm just hoping that we can get the pace that these guys at the front have. They've been going fast all weekend. I've been a little bit behind, but you know, full of confidence, and just gonna go try and have some fun today.
Thanks, Josh. Best of luck.
All right, so Josh obviously trying to turn that little bit of anger into a race result
Yeah,
here.
he'll be fine. I mean, I think when you look at where he's going to be gridded and all that, he's going to be fine. And he looked like he did pretty well in warm-up this morning. He did a bunch of laps, and I know you know a little bit more about some of the things that they've been working on underneath that team. So.
Yeah, for that team, and we'll talk more about it in the race, but basically they have new software that's full-blown World Superbike spec, and you know, Richard Stamboli and the crew are trying to get all that sorted out.
Yep.
There is Cameron Beaubier, who, Jason, you talk to him, he looks confident, he looks relaxed, he's really absolutely, you know, just look at those results, right? It was 9th place in Atlanta, but then blammo, across the board, he's just been on fire as of late. And it was really Wisconsin when Dunlop brought out the new extra soft front tire in combination with that new larger rear tire, a tire that he was comfortable with in testing over the off season, and it just started to flow for him, and the extra work that his crew's been putting in as usual. There's Jake Lewis, and just over his shoulder is Garrett Gerloff. Garrett Gerloff in his first factory ride here on the Superbike, still learning, still developing, and enjoying his time. He expects to have a little bit better results than the 3 podiums he's had, but of course, what racer wouldn't, right?
He wants to win, and I talked to him in depth about it yesterday, and we were talking about realistic expectations, and as racers, it's hard to accept that realistic expectations kind of mantra that some of us have, and but he's getting there, and I think he'll be up front today as well. Cameron Beaubier, Tony Elias, Jake Lewis, Cameron with a brand new track record.
Yep.
Matthew Skoltz, Garrett Gerloff starting middle of row 2 with Roger Hayden just outside row 2. Back onto row 3, Kyle Wyman, Josh Herron, Danny Eslick. Row 4, we got Cam Peterson, David Anthony, and Bobby Fong. A little bit further back, Jeff May. Good to see Jeff back in the paddock. Really happy to see that. We'll talk more about that as we go. Max
for
Flinders,
sure.
Jason Uribe outside row 5. And then Bruno Silva and Sam Verderico round out our field. And like we said at the top of our telecast, probably about 4 or 5 of our top runners have actually tipped over already this weekend. And, this is the kind of place where it's really easy to kind of have those little things happen. But they've all rebounded really well, I think. I think the guys that are up front are usually our normal suspects. I think a couple of guys get a little bit, they get up a spot. We see Raj this morning qualified 7th, but he gets to get up on that second row with Josh's penalty. So it's actually a pretty big deal. The start here is so key.
So a good look at Jake Lewis on the M4 X-Star Suzuki number 85. I think a lot of expectations. Jason, we've talked about this many, many times. The ride that Tony Elias has now was Jake Lewis's ride, and Jake got hurt, and they asked Tony to come in and fill in, and then he took that ride, and then Suzuki, who employs Jake Lewis, asked the M4 X-Star Suzuki team to put a program together for him, and that's where we are here. And Jake trying to repay his team taking him on after injury with a podium finish here. And of course, I think leading the way right now, Josh Herron trying to make a statement. The grid penalty assessment from a previous round for Josh Herron. You see, he only qualified 9/10 of a second off of pole position, but he will start just this one race.
It's not going to matter, Greg, honestly.
Here
of all places, this is probably the best place that could happen for him. And I think that's the main thing. Is he's going to get a great start. He'll be able to maybe draft up. I wouldn't be surprised to see him leading or in the top 3 going into turn 1.
A little bit more detail about what's going on with Josh Herron and that attack performance Herron compound Yamaha. So after our World Superbike round at WeatherTech Raceway, they got an updated software for their electronics, full World Superbike software. They use what they call different strategies than we do in the United States on how to get, say, the bike into the corner, the bike out of the corner. So they went and tested, and they made some big steps forward. But basically, Richard Stamboli told me, look, don't expect the world at this particular race weekend. We think we might have to take a step backwards. It might have been 1 session, it might be 2 sessions, but they have been struggling with it a little bit, and Josh hasn't gotten all the time that they need. So Josh Herron fans, hold on this one. We'll have to see how this all works out. All right, let's get down to Hannah, who has our last-minute report.
I checked in with our friends from Dunlop, and I noticed that all of the front tire choices are different. Most are on an extra soft or a soft compound, but every single racer on this grid is on a soft rear. Maybe you guys could shed some light on why that is.
Well, Hannah, because really the temperatures come up so much, and these guys have found a tire that I think is just going to be probably through Dunlop's recommendation at this point. They've all been on the tires they need to be on, but when you start talking about race distance and heat and things, I think that there's probably going to be one natural choice. That was going to be the choice that these guys all chose. So that's probably why you saw the field just go with that same tire.
And of course, now Dunlop has instituted these stickers. You can see them on the side of the tire. So what we're going to look for on the front is a green sticker, and that indicates that extra soft. Or if it has no sticker, that's the soft. And so that's why you'll see no sticker on the rear tire if everyone's on that same tire. Cameron Beaubier, you see that right there.
Yep.
Look at that front tire. Look at that Dunlop sticker. That's the green sticker. Beaubier loves that new Dunlop extra soft tire, and he is using it. See if he can go from pole to victory here. But he's got a whole field of talented racers coming after him. So here we go. It's time for the Motul Superbike class, race number 1 from UMC. Lights going out. And who got the good start? Tony got a good one, but you know what? Jake Lewis also got a decent start. Yeah,
Roger Hayden from the second row gets a great start on the right side of your screen there. Could have 2 Yoshimura Suzukis, 1 and 2, as they rip off down into turn number 1. We got Garrett Gerloff trying to work on his teammate Jake Lewis now, sneaking up underneath both the Yamahas, or at least one of them. And Jake got the start he wanted. He said he wanted to get a good start, but it looks like he's going to get pushed off just a little bit, and Garrett's going to fall back into that 4th spot. But it's Yoshimura Suzuki's 1 and 2.
All our eyes are on the shifter of Tony Elias, as we know that he's had some problems in the past with some false neutrals. So we're going to be keeping a close eye on that as Tony Elias, the number 1 plate, the reigning national champion, leads the way early on in this one as Cam Beaubier slots into 3rd. And it looks like Herron making some moves, and he'll push Gerloff wide and take over that spot. And Jake Lewis getting that bike really turned, using the horsepower and the throttle to try to get that motorcycle turned, but he'll stay right behind Gerloff for the moment.
And when you were saying just now that Richard told us to, Josh Herron fans maybe not expect too much. I don't think that's going to happen. I think Josh is too motivated, too determined. And, we knew that little grid spot penalty wasn't going to hurt him too bad. You can see him, that little bit of white dust that you just saw come off of Herron's bike is from some new concrete that's been poured here all weekend long I've been thinking people with bikes are getting ready to blow up, but that's not the case, okay? So, but he was well out there on the coming out of Witchcraft trying to set Raj up going into the Attitudes. So now we're headed down out of turn 12, or turn 12 to turn 13. And what I'd like to see is if Cameron can actually draft the Yoshimura Suzuki at Tony, because when we were at Road America, the Yosh bikes definitely seemed like they had a bit of a speed advantage. So that's what's going to make Cameron's race more difficult, is if he can't really draft past Tony down this big long straightaway, it's going to make him move somewhere else. Maybe not hard, but he's going to have to start thinking about where else it can happen.
Oh, that Yosh bike pulled out a bike length or two, but there are different stages of that straightaway. So Bovier deep behind that draft. He pulls up, not quite alongside, so he got out of the draft, but couldn't do anything with him at the moment. So now Bovier is going to have to think about something else.
Raj got in there a little bit too fast, just a little bit deep, kind of maybe got a little bit of a feel of the draft off of the two bikes in front of him, and it drew him in there a little bit quickly. But you can see Cameron here, a lot of corner speed and roll speed through the outside of turn 2. It's a big move into turn 3, Greg. But that's all set it because the Yamaha likes to be on the edge of the tire, and that's what Cameron is so comfortable with now with this new tire that's out. He doesn't mind being on the edge of the tire and rolling on the gas.
But Tony's a fighter.
Yep, Tony's a fighter. Josh Herron now moving back past Garrett Gerloff, who went by him down the front straightaway. So Herron goes back up underneath him, trying to keep those first 3 guys in sight. Look at the group we got in front here right now, Greg. Got 7 or 8 guys still pretty much glued together.
Yeah, freight trainer riders. There's the Jake Lewis from the front row, slotted back there in 6th spot. And then you have number 11. That is Matthew Skoltz on that Yamalu Westby Racing Yamaha. He's trying to make his way up towards the front. So this is what a lot of people were
a little bit wide for Garrett and Herron.
Yeah.
And that's going to allow Jake to get by Gerloff. Skoltz with a big one right in front of Bobby Fong as they come out of the Attitudes. You can see Herron's got the bike all backed in as they come into turn 11 there. Hard corner, very, very difficult corner. You got to be really precise on your tip-in point and your brake pressure there. So
big moment too, not only for Skoltzy but for Fong, because he was so close back
to
there.
getting up the back of Skoltz, yes. But
so this is what most riders didn't want to see, Jason, is Cameron Bovier out front. They were hoping he would be shuffled back a little ways.
I don't think he'll be at the front at the end of the straightaway, Greg. We'll see. Right now, it looks like Cameron got a really good drive out of there, so he probably will lead it. But you can see the Yosh bike is going to draw up on the back of him pretty good. You see Tony's actually thinking about pulling out of the draft a little bit, but Tony's just going to kind of sort himself out a little bit right now, I think. Just kind of see where Cameron's picking up time, or let Cameron do a little bit of the donkey work at the front. But see the roll speed on the entry that Cameron has. You see that gap he's able to pull? It's almost like he can just release the lever a little bit sooner and start cracking the gas on a little bit earlier.
Josh Herron, first bike right part of your screen, number 2 in 4th spot at the moment. Jake Lewis trying to chase him as Roger Hayden has put himself kind of in the middle at this point in 3rd spot, as Hayden himself is on a podium streak after having a disastrous start to the season. Roger Hayden, who has 3 in a row in terms of podiums.
Good move by Garrett here. Garrett's going to try to sneak up underneath Jake Lewis as they head into turn 6. It's a move that you've got to decide very early if you've got the drive out of 5 to pull up alongside somebody, and you can see Herron just pulling away ever so slightly. So I think Garrett wants to try to get that move going forward as well. You see Jake having a look around the outside going into the Attitude. Skoltz is still there. Bobby Fong is still there. Danny Eslick is right behind. So it looked like Kyle Wyman was maybe behind Danny.
Yeah, I think Kyle Wyman with Cam Peterson. Jeff May up into 12th spot. David Anthony down into 13th. Jason Uribe in 14th. Sam Puerto Rico, Bruno Silva, and Max Flinders rounding out our order. So Cameron Bovier leading the way at 149.8.
So this lap here, Tony's a lot closer out of this last corner. So Tony's probably going to take his turn leading here. I don't think he's going to be disciplined enough to just kind of sit behind Cameron. He's going to have a look at things. Maybe he feels like, all right, we're pulling away from that group behind us. I don't need to do anything. But I think he's going to probably try to go by him. And he just kind of let up. So what Tony's doing right now is he's just kind of ghosting on Cameron a little bit here, just following him along, realizing that he's not really going anywhere, and they're able to pull that gap on that group behind him pretty easily. 49.7 for Tony that lap, and obviously it's easy. And both these bikes, if you see there, Tony turns in quite a bit earlier into turn 3. They definitely run some different lines. 49.9, 49.7 for the front runners.
One of the things about this racetrack that's interesting in Tony's riding style is, yeah, you can kind of go right down to the apex, but Jason, you talked about this all show long. It's a very flowing racetrack, and it doesn't really pay off as much here, I think, you tell me, as some other tracks with the way Tony likes to ride and use the brakes.
Well, you can see he's running up the inside curbing there. This isn't really so much of a point-and-shoot type of track. And when you take into consideration that we lose horsepower up at this elevation, it makes the point-and-shoot method a little bit harder because, or I don't know if it makes it harder, but it makes being able to roll through corners and cracking the throttle on 12-15% more than you normally would if you were, if you were at sea level. It makes that way of riding a little bit easier. Already with Tony today, I'm noticing there's only a couple spots that that he turns in a little bit earlier than Cam. But if you watch, he's kind of flowing around the track a little bit more. This is kind of what we grew accustomed to seeing with Tony. It's only been the last 2 rounds, maybe because of the tire, maybe because of the false neutrals, maybe a combination of both of those, where we see him just kind of really making a much bigger effort to just go straight to the apex with the front brake lever on and turning it and going. It's a very frustrating way to a person to race against. David Anthony out. And David Anthony had actually been going pretty quick, and I'd heard that they'd put a stock motor back in that bike. So,
yeah, David Anthony qualified in 11th spot, has had some moments in his Superbike career of brilliance, but not today. As Tony Elias now up the inside, he'll take his turn at the front, turning that GSXR 1000 in. Beaubier's trying to scooch back up the inside-outside move, and you can see the roll speed. Cam is not scared.
No, the Yamaha likes to be on the edge of the tire. The Yamaha also likes to be, he can do a lot with the throttle as far as modulating throttles and things like that. But they're not really going anywhere. And if you watch Tony when he eased up underneath him in turn 1, it wasn't like a big desperate pass or a big desperate move. Tony seems pretty comfortable sitting right behind Cameron at the moment. And the passes that have been made so far have been just kind of down the straightaway. But Cameron through 1 and 2 is tremendously fast.
So Cameron Beaubier, number 6, 2-time Superbike champion, lost that number 1 plate to the rider behind him, Tony Elias, for 2017, as Tony obviously is the reigning champion. So Tony on the Yoshimura Suzuki Factory Racing machine, Cameron on that Monster Energy Yamaha Factory Racing R1. And this is the battle they expected. Talking to Cameron and talking to Tony individually at different times during the weekend, both of them had it in their mind that this was going to be a race to the checkered flag. I don't think Cameron had checkout. Checking out. It's a term we use in road racing where someone gets out in the lead and has a few seconds and they just check out. I don't think Cam was expecting that. He was expecting this fight.
Tony's still getting really close to those curbings.
He is getting close to the curbings, and but he's also close to Cam. So
yeah, but like going into 13 there, he's still tipping in a little bit earlier. But you're exactly right. I don't think Cameron had expected that to be checked out. You're right.
Now, Jay, this is where you see Tony getting the board saying riders behind him by 1.8 seconds, and the L12 means lap 12 to go.
Yep, 12
to go. So that's the communication that Tony chooses on his pit board. But here's the thing about Tony. Tony can be very aggressive. Tony likes to lead. Tony can do all these things on the brakes, but Tony can also sit back and start to study Cam. If he's got it, I can't break away. He'll just sit around for the next 11 laps going, okay, and just formulate a plan and probably formulate 4 or 5 corners where he can get Cam and try to break away. And that's the danger of leading Tony Elias around the racetrack.
Right. Yeah, because Tony's going to know the spot. He's already starting to choose his spot, isn't he? So you're exactly right. These 4 guys having a nice little battle with each other. You see Bobby Fong. Such a drag seeing Bobby pull into the pits. I know
Such limited laps this weekend as well.
He didn't get very many laps in the first session at all. And
they tested. The team got to test. They got to test at Auto Club Speedway during those 4-week break.
Oh, Jake Lewis.
Up and out.
Up and out just a little bit. So, the thing is, it's really easy to get greedy with the throttle because the bikes aren't as fast. So you go, I'm just going to keep screwing the throttle on. And every now and then, Superbike has to remind you that it is a Superbike, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if you say so.
Yeah.
So Josh Herron in 4th spot, Garrett Gerloff in 5th. That Jake Lewis is in 6th. Matthew Skoltz in the 7th spot. That's the battle we're looking at right now.
And these guys are all running about a second off our leaders, 50.5, 50.6 for our leaders. And these guys here, 51.5, 4s, 7s. So, nobody's really going anywhere. You can see Danny Eslick just off the back. Back there, Kyle Wyman. It looks like he's got, around Danny as well. So, it's Kyle and Danny back there in, 8th and 9th spot. Cameron Peterson just behind them.
And Jason, the cloud of silly season has now taken its hold on this paddock, meaning that there are a lot of talk about where riders are going to go next year, who has contracts that are up, where are people going to go. And with the strength of MotoAmerica and the amount of years now that they've been in business, this is good. It's good having a halfway point of the season. Where's Matthew Skoltz going to go next year? Where Roger Hayden's contract is up. There's some spots that are open and available for other people to move into. So silly season's among us. We're already starting to talk. I don't think the manufacturers are really too concerned about it. It's more us.
Jake is getting really loose. No,
Jake
I agree
Lewis
with
on
you.
the 85 is getting loose, yeah.
Really, really loose there. He's just lighting the thing up. No, I agree with you. And who knows? There could be some new teams coming in. We don't know. But, I mean, there's definitely some riders that are going to be available.
And then riders from Europe that are interested.
Yeah, and that's why this battle here is so important. You got Jake and Skoltz.
Yeah.
And Heron, three guys that don't have big teams behind them, but they have very, very good teams behind them. Will they choose to go anywhere where any other seats open up? So, right now, Heron's just starting to break loose of these three guys ever so slightly, but I'm a little concerned about Jake's retire because I've seen the thing light itself up quite a few times already.
Yeah, and part of what the M4 X-Star Suzuki's team is about is developing the electronics that are on his bikes. They're not the same electronics that come on the Yoshimura Suzuki factory bikes at all. And so this M4 X-Star Suzuki team, using their knowledge and their power to help develop those electronics, and so they're constantly working to make those better. And one of the things we talked about in Superpole qualifying that was on B and Connect earlier on with Jake Lewis was the fact that they're working on that wheelie. All right, there is Kyle Wyman. Hannah, what do you have going on?
So you guys mentioned Bobby pulled into the pits. I had a second to chat with him really quickly. Obviously very frustrated. He's had kind of a tough string of luck this season. Thinks the bike is just overheating, not really sure what else is going on. So hopefully they'll get that sorted and he'll be back out there to fight for a placement tomorrow.
Okay, thanks, Hannah. And speaking of Hannah, SC Project KWR Racing, that's Kyle Wyman on the 33. He's in 8th spot. And there is 69 Danny Eslick on the Scheibe Racing. Hayes Brakes Motorcycle back there in 9th spot. Thought maybe that they would be a little bit further up the order.
52.7 is not just hanging around either. It's not slow. I mean, but the thing is, and I'm just looking up on our screens here. These guys are all still glued together, but Tony just put in his first split, which is the fastest of the race. Both guys right in the 50.2, 50.3. These guys here again, right in the 51s. Raj is kind of 51 flat. He's in no man's land. He's kind of between. Here you go. Jake now going to have a look at Garrett as they go into turn 5. Last lap through here, he really lit the thing up coming out.
It's very interesting in my conversation with Garrett Gerloff this weekend, Jason. And I know we have a profile at some point during the season coming up, and I don't want to give too much away, but one of the things that Garrett talked about was we're at that point of the race, about the halfway point, getting real close, where he says he's really having to learn how to manage. He said one of the things that surprised him the most is that when that rear tire goes off, is that he needs to allow himself more braking distance into the corner because he likes to use the rear brake, and when the rear tire is not hooking up as much, even under deceleration, it's caught him out a few times.
Yep.
And I thought that was very interesting because in all the years that I've been doing this, I've never really heard a rider explain it in that way.
Yeah, and every rider's different. Every rider has their own little sequence of things that they do going into a corner, their own little idiosyncrasies, if you will, like that they do. And so things that have worked for Garrett on the 600, now you add a little weight, you add 400 cc's, things change now. So you have to be adaptable and try to figure out how you can adapt your riding style to the bike, and if you have to make any changes to what you are actually doing on the bike. So that's what he's going through right now. And when you think about it, he's really our first true rookie that we've had that has stepped up from like a super sport class up into Superbike in some time. I mean, Jake Lewis was probably our last one 3 years ago. Who is that? He's actually a real rookie on 1,000, but he's got a great group of guys and a team down there with a fast teammate. So he'll be able to learn quite a bit this year, and hopefully that'll pay dividends for him as he's on a 2-year contract with Yamaha.
And he has a 4-year Superbike champ, Josh Hayes, who's still around this paddock. So if you're wanting to come see Josh Hayes and you think that he's no longer here racing, he's still around this paddock, and you have another 4 races in this season to come talk to him. But he's also a help to the entire Monster Energy Yamaha factory squad.
Look for the guy pulling his hair out.
Yeah, look for the guy.
That's Josh.
Yeah, because he
still wants to ride.
He wants to ride.
Yes, he does.
Wants to race, no doubt about it. All right, so we're looking at Cameron Beaubier leading the way. He's number 6. Number 1 is Tony Elias. They've been going back and forth in terms of the gap. It was up to 1 second a couple laps ago. And Tony, Jason, you mentioned he just started putting in a dig here on this sector and another sector over there. And of course, that gap now, it's nothing. It's 0.4 of a second on the board, but we know that Tony is within striking distance if he's got it right now. The question is, with Tony's recent feel surge. And what I mean is, after he flambéed his bike, it was barbecued yesterday, they put this bike together, they made a couple drastic changes, and he said, wow, in free practice yesterday, I started to get the feeling back after we made a big change. That's great, but this is the first chance to go full race distance at race pace on this motorcycle.
Yep.
And so we literally could be in no man's land in terms of information or how the bike feels with the Yoshimura Suzuki of Tony Elias.
That's exactly right. And the thing, he's been able to feel his bike out now for 9 laps, Greg? He ran a 49 the lap prior to this one. He just went 50 flat. And so he knows he's got the bike underneath him to win the race. And Cameron's not been able to go kind of anywhere. Cameron's right around the 50 flats also. And both bikes and riders have their strengths in different places on the racetrack. You can see here, again, through turn 2, Cameron kind of pulls away. Tony turns in a little earlier into turn 3. And then all through this next little section, Tony kind of pulls it back in. And, he's just planning right now. That's all he's doing.
Yeah,
he's just kind of going through those motions of planning of where he wants to do something. He sees a little bit earlier. You kind of see when he gets in there underneath Cameron, right at the last minute, Tony will go for that rear brake just to get that extra little bit of slowing power down. He's done his braking from the front. He's done his downshift already. And I think that's the other concern that Tony had in this race was with all the false neutrals and stuff that we had seen him get. Haven't really seen that yet, have we? We've seen everything looks pretty cool right now for him. So, it's going to give him a lot of confidence, give him a chance to make a plan.
So as Beaubier leads the way, Tony Elias has set the fastest lap of the race. That was back on lap 3, and that was a 1:49.753. And for those out there that are interested in the average speed around Utah Motorsports Campus, a 149.753 is going to get you 99.977 miles per hour average. So basically, just shy of 100 miles an hour. That's going accelerating, slowing down, and that really plays, Jason, into your talk about this racetrack and how great the flow is.
Yeah, it really does. All this little section, even here, this is all going to be second gear, but it's very flowing second gear type of stuff. It's a little one line at the end of the lap, but it's really fun turns and very flowing. So looking up here now, what these guys do, 50.1, 50 flat again for Tony. You can see he's kind of sitting up. He's just kind of sitting up back there, losing his braking, his right foot there just off the thing. We're hearing right now, Raj. Turn 15, actually, it looks like turn 14, to be honest.
Yeah,
it looks like
he is going down, so that moves Josh Herron into third.
And now there's this battle for third. Jake Lewis was part of it. He said he wanted to try to get on the podium, but look at that. He gets bucked up out of the seat yet again, does Jake. So now Jake has been able to distance himself from the guys behind him as well. You can see Raj kind of getting going again here. That's too bad.
That is a heartbreaker because another podium was in his grasp. We'll have to hear what happened to Raj.
It's just really strange because we're just so used to seeing Raj. His model of consistency is pretty unparalleled last year and so on, and this year it's just not been that way.
So Roger Hayden, factory Yoshimura Suzuki, is out of this one. He was by himself in third, so that leaves the battle now between Josh Herron, Jake Lewis, Matthew Skoltz, Garrett Gerloff for third. You can see that running order as Gerloff is in 5th spot. So
it's going to be a pretty big fight between Herron and Jake, because both those guys are going to want that final step
Jake
of the podium.
can keep that rear tire underneath him with this 6.5 laps to go.
We've seen it spinning since like the third lap, though, really, really early.
So talented. He's so talented. And he puts it out of his mind. You can tell he's racing forward. All right, so there's Josh Herron. With that penalty coming from 8th place on the grid, row number 3, put himself in a position to get another podium finish. Very uncharacteristic, though, for Josh Herron, who's had a good run all season. He has 4 podiums. He crashed at the end of the race last time we saw him at WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. And that was the first DNF we've seen out of Herron. But you know what, Jason? That was a taxing weekend, not only on the motorcycle, but physically on Josh Herron.
Let's see if this M4 X-Star Suzuki has something for that Yamaha. It certainly does. Good for Jake. Jake's going to pull out of the draft. He's going to try to lead this lap and see what happens with the lap times. 51.6, 51.5 for Jake that last lap through. So I'm curious to see, can he keep it underneath him there? That's just real smooth there, Greg, on the gas for Jake. Didn't see the bike move around at all there.
And when I was talking to Jake Lewis, he said, look, we have a really, really good motorcycle. It's not as fast as the 4 factory bikes, but it is as fast as Josh Herron's bike, as Matthew Skoltz's bike, You know, and those are the riders that I'm benchmarking myself against right now in the season, because I get it.
He kind of lost the front just a little bit there. Didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's fine.
But you can kind of see it. He just kind of lost the front, but he was able to keep it underneath him. Good for him.
And he is running that extra soft option front tire, where Josh Herron is running the soft, so a little bit harder compound.
Yeah, you'll see this is the pass as they went down into turn one. Everything looks as good as it can look here for Jake. Look at you can really see how big Jake is.
Yeah,
on
the
the
size
bike.
difference.
He's so
Very tall.
Very, very tall guy. But
yeah, we were actually standing next to each other today.
Yeah.
And his eyes are a little bit taller than me. He goes, "How tall are you?" I said, "Well, I used to be 6'2" and 3/4". He goes, "Well, then I'm 6'3". And I was like, "Yes, you are taller than I am."
He's a tall guy for sure. And he kind of defended his spot through the next turn 2, turn 3. There you go again. Those little quick hits of bucking you up out of the seat, those can be a little bit distracting. You want to have that happen very late through your acceleration point, like so almost to the point right before you stand the bike upright. Now we're going to see if Herron can do anything with him down that front straightaway. And what
exactly what I was thinking.
And what it's going to do, Greg, is it's drawing these two back into it, isn't it? You can kind of tell it's drawing them back in.
All right, so onto the front straightaway they go. And you can see the urgency, though, in a couple corners before we got onto the front straightaway from Josh Herron, because I think he was thinking the same thing we are. So Herron trying to get into the draft. So 85 is Jake Lewis, M4X Suzuki. Josh Herron, the number 2. Nope, doesn't pull out. So on that Attack Performance Herron compound Yamaha R1, you've got to come to a MotoAmerica race and check that motorcycle out. It is an absolute beautiful piece of kit.
It really is. Richard does a good job. All him and his whole attack crew that bike is. I think it's the best looking bike on the grid.
It is,
sure.
and it looks about as GP as a street bike can possibly look.
It does. Now all through here, Josh is able to draw up on the back to see if he can do anything. You can actually get a little bit of a draft off somebody there. You kind of kick it into 4th gear, and you can actually get a bit of a draft sometimes there. And this time, Jake's a little bit cleaner, a lot cleaner going in.
Yeah.
And you can see Herron's bike starting to spin a little bit earlier, but it kind of helped him, turn around.
Yeah, but it didn't really get him a good drive out of there. Yeah. By the way, last time by, Garrett Gerloff set his fastest personal lap of the race. Gerloff's there at a 151.1.
That was to say we've lost Matthew Schultz, but he's there. But yeah 51.1's fast.
And this is exactly the part of the race that Garrett Gerloff has been talking about. How do I get stronger towards the end of the race? From every aspect, as the motorcycle continues to change, as fuel load drops off, tire performance decreases, and of course, how does he properly expend the amount of energy it takes? Roger Hayden out in the pits.
Yeah, I just saw him coming in, Greg. I stood up to make sure it was Raj, and yeah, he's coming down pit lane. Looking at this battle at the front, 26.8, 26.7. So right now, Cameron looks like he's pulled away, but Tony's done his fastest second split. And I think now's going to be the time. Let's see how close that Yosh bike can get to Cameron at the end of this straightaway.
Half a second.
He still went 49.9, but he got pulled away from in most of the sectors except for the last. The last sector, Tony pulled back in 2/10, but the rest of the lap, it was pretty much Cameron kind of getting away from him a little bit.
Good shot at Cameron Beaubier. Taking a look at the attitude of his motorcycle, Jason.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's beautiful looking at that Dunlop combination. We mentioned it before, soft rear tire with that extra soft front denoted by that mint green sticker.
And Cameron, you know, it's some people out there might be wondering, like, what are you thinking if you're Cameron Beaubier right now? You've had +0 on your board for the last 13 laps. You know you're not getting away. You've been pushing. You know, maybe you've put in little bits of efforts here and there through different sectors. And you know, right now Cameron knows who he's got behind him as Josh Herron has got through on Jake Lewis. But you know you got a seasoned professional, seasoned guy behind you, world-class guy, Tony, and you just know he's making a plan. And he hasn't shot any darts at you yet, so you're kind of starting to think, where's it going to happen, right?
Mind games.
Yep. It's probably going to be down the front straightaway. It is. Josh Herron's just going to pull out of the draft, wait a little bit longer to get those brakes on, and he's going to just kind of slide up underneath Jake Lewis as they go down into turn 1.
Two-finger braking from Josh Herron. You know, he uses those 2 middle fingers, a very unique braking style. Gets on those binders and gets it turned. Garrett Gerloff is in a position as well. If these two start beating each other up, and with only a couple laps to go, it's Garrett Gerloff that could find himself right back on the podium. Number 31, the bike coming into your screen there. Back up front we go. 3 laps after Cameron comes across the stripe.
Here we go. Tony's ready to take his first little shot, maybe. Let's see. Let's see if he pulls back in. Or if he actually makes the pass.
Oh, he's going for it.
He is going for it. He's in there a little bit deep. There's a lot of bumps going down in there. That's where you can see the bikes moving around quite a bit. And that's
he parked him.
You see what he did? He parked him right at the apex of the corner.
Cameron had to check up.
Didn't allow Cameron to do something with him. Now, what I'm curious to know is when they come down the front straightaway, see how much earlier Tony tips into 3? So Cameron's trying to keep up a bunch of roll speed. And he just can't because you just draw up on the back of the guy. So it makes it very, very hard to get a run on somebody. Does he go back up underneath him? He doesn't here. Now we're going to see when they come down the front straightaway the next lap, Greg, if Cameron doesn't do something with him before then. See, Tony just he runs over the inside of the curbings. He's doing it routinely. He's done it there, and he does it here too. Usually he gets really close to this curbing. You see how close he is, and see how Cameron kind of just releases that turn 6. He doesn't really consider that second apex very much.
Yeah, Tony's on fire. He is ripping right now. Tony Elias. So this is what he did. He went to work on Cameron. He watched him for, 9 laps, 8 or 9 laps, and studied him up. And now Tony Elias is trying to control the pace. The thing is, the way Tony rides, Jason, if you're in Cameron's spot, how do you as a racer not get distracted by all the movement and the bucking and all that stuff?
You do, and I think Cameron's racing with Tony enough now. I mean, if it was new to somebody that wasn't racing against Tony, it would definitely be more harder to deal with. But these guys have a lot of confidence in each other, even though some might suspect that they don't. They're not out there trying to do anything dastardly to one another. It's just that they're racing for a small part of tarmac that they both want to be on. But here, let's see if Cameron can actually draft back past Tony as they come down the straightaway, because we saw him do it early, right? I'm not gonna say Tony was playing games, but this lap here, Tony kept the thing pinned down the front straightaway, and you can see the gap, can't you?
Yeah.
And I was kind of curious if he was gonna let Cameron go by and lead a lap or so, or 2. He let him lead a lot more than that. 50.9 to a 51.3 that last lap. So the pace has dropped off a little bit.
So that section coming out of turn 1 into turn number 2 is where Cameron had tremendous amount of roll speed.
But right here, this is, yeah, you're exactly right. But see what he did right here, Greg?
Yeah.
Is he held back a little bit through turn 2 and 3. He's going to try to do something maybe in 5 on the last lap. Because if he can't draft him down the front straightaway, it's going to be good for Cameron to kind of let Tony just pull out a little bit so that he can run up the back of him through turn 4 and try to do something with him in turn 5.
Plus, I mean, Cam, at this point, you don't want to do anything and then have lap traffic because they're coming up on Bruno Silva, the number 90. They just went by, so he did the right thing. Blue flags. You can see Cameron when he gets in a little tight. Couple of the bumps, suspension working really hard on Cameron's R1. Through the attitudes they go.
But even through the attitudes, you can see how Cameron can kind of pull up on him. He carries a lot of roll speed through the first left, drives it right to the right. And all the arcs that Cameron has right now are a little bit more opened up. Tony, the reason why the pace has slowed down is because Tony is kind of guarding and protecting again, like we've seen him do in the past. And that's why the pace has dropped almost a second. 51.3. They were doing 49.9 just 2 laps ago. So let's see what this lap time is. And it's really going to be able to tell of what's going on.
And the other thing, Jason, is that Tony got by him with 3 laps to go. That might be, if Tony loses this race, that might be the difference. Giving Cameron enough time to study Tony, because Tony had it.
Yeah, but see, Cameron can't draft him, and that's the whole thing. Cameron can't get close to him. When they went down the front straightaway the first 2 laps, and Cameron was able to draft past him, Tony wasn't full throttle down the front straightaway. So now he's in there a little bit deep, is Tony. But see, Cameron, if he just lets Tony get away just a little bit through here, through turn 3 and 4 here in a minute is where he needs to draw up. He doesn't want to draw up on the back of him right here. He wants to do it coming out of the next one. See, if he's got to roll out of it like he might have to do there, now all of his speed is killed. He's going to be going Tony's speed. You can see he's going to try to do something. This is where I figured he would try it, down into turn 5, but Tony blocks it. So now it's going to be it's going to be a big pass. And with this two's history in the past, it could make things really interesting, because this is the last lap, obviously. So now things are going to get a little bit more interesting. Where can he do it? The last lap by 50.6s. Tony knows he's right there.
So Cameron Beaubier, who led most of this race, gave it up to the number 1 plate, and Tony Elias doing what he does. He fights and fights.
He's going to try. He's thinking all the little spots. He's trying to carry a bunch of speed. See how he's got kind of the roll through here? Now he's setting him up for this next left.
Cameron Beaubier trying to go underneath. He's got him for the moment. Is he going to be able to outbreak him? He gets the bike turned, and he'll take over the spot. But we know Tony Elias is not one to give it up. He tries to go side by side. The next move is Tony's going underneath. Cameron leans on him. Oh, it looks like Tony has position. They're wide.
You knew it was coming, though. I mean, man, Cameron put such a good little pass on him. But these guys rode really hard together. He's going to try it last turn. Nope, can't do nothing there.
Oh, and Beaubier loses the front. Just a big black mark off the front. That's going to be it for Tony Elias. He screws the throttle on to the throttle stop, and he will take victory in a masterful performance over Cameron Beaubier and snaps Beaubier's win streak, holding him at 4.
And here we go, Jake. Not sure where Jake is, Jake Lewis, but it looks like Josh Herron is going to come across third, and Garrett Gerloff was behind him, and we've lost Jake Lewis.
Oh, Jake Lewis out of this one.
I wonder what happened there, Jake.
There he is. Looks like something's going wrong with the bike.
Wrong.
So Lewis trying to get across the line, and he will barely hold on to 5th spot over Matthew Skoltz.
Something big happened. Something happened to the bike there. What a shame for Jake. We just didn't get to see exactly what happened. Kyle Wyman comes across the line in 7th place. Tony's going to be really happy with that, right? That was such a pretty move that Cameron did down through the attitudes.
So
he opened that up to go past up underneath Tony into turn 11 there. He made the move so early. But Tony was able to still figure out a way to get back up underneath him going into turn 13.
So Tony Elias, nicknamed the Scud Missile. You can see right in the middle of that number 1 plate, you got a nice Scud Missile going on there. He does a good job. What an incredible racecraft. I thought maybe a little too early with this big move to give Cam, well, basically a shot at it. Give him some education. But in terms of the championship, it goes from 29 points. And Tony Elias will claw back 5. So with that race win, Tony Elias has now reduced the amount of points deficit to under 1 entire race, race scoring points. So it's 24. The one thing I do have to say, though, Jason, is that I think Cam Beaubier had a really big save. I think it was bigger than we thought. And he, in that last, left-hand corner,
on the transition,
just had a big moment there, and saving that probably, cost him from basically leading this championship by 24 points. It would have been basically
letting Tony back right in.
Yeah, it would have been 4 points.
He doesn't give up, though, does he? I mean, that guy doesn't give up. And good to see Josh Herron on the podium.
Yeah.
Really good to see him there. And tomorrow he'll get to start another row up in front. There's nobody that wheelies a bike as good as Josh Herron.
No doubt.
I mean, nobody. So good stuff.
He's got command of that motorcycle. Now, even though it's third for him and it's a great result, I know that he'll be looking at 19.2 seconds back from those 2 race leaders, and that's going to be the work that's going to be going on tonight. Valuable data and at a great race speed for that Attack Performance crew. They'll download that data and continue to work on those new electronics that they have on. Same electronics, but now just updated software that's really giving them more parameters and more things they could do to that motorcycle to get it closer to factory.
Well, we got to fight again, it looks like. Tony's got his stuff sorted out a little bit. The Yoshimura guys knew it wouldn't take long. It'll be interesting to see what the comments are afterwards. And, because you could see that he definitely had the power on the Yamaha down the straightaway for sure.
Yeah.
And Cameron did draft by him early, so interesting to see what Cameron thinks. Garrett comes by him.
Garrett Gerloff, I think, talking with him after this race will be interesting to see how his race end was. He only ended 9/10 of a second off of that podium, but he looked a lot stronger towards the end of the race than we've seen him so far. So maybe learning some things.
Yeah. Do you think Jake Lewis ran out of gas?
That's exactly what my thought was initially. Exactly what my thought. He's looking down, but I was thinking to myself, I wonder if it's maybe a fuel capacity issue because I don't really know the specs.
Such a bummer.
Yeah. You hear it?
It sounds like something's, it sounds like, it can't be shift linkage or anything like that. I see him looking down, it's definitely making a noise.
It's making some noise.
She's got a knock, Jake.
Sounds like a lawnmower.
Yep, definitely no question, something.
And the thing is we don't know because the battle for the lead was so intense if he had gotten ahead of him.
Listen to that thing. It's definitely got a little something there. So let's see what happens. We've noticed, so this happens going through witchcraft. So it looks like it's lost some sort of power.
Yeah,
something's gone on there, and that don't mind that stuff there, folks. Even though it's not nice to look at, something's happened to the bike already, but that's just concrete dust right there.
Yeah,
on
that
the
one
screen.
patch that they put in there. Yeah,
and
you can see he's already looking back.
Something happened, and and this is the last lap. So anyhow.
Well, any chance that he had to fight for that podium spot ended in that moment. But we're going to get a commercial break right now on beIN Sports. When we come back, we're going to talk to Tony, Cam, and Heron. So hang with us. All right, welcome back to Utah Motorsports Campus here in Grantsville, Utah, as the Motul Superbike race has wrapped up in quite spectacular fashion, as it was a fantastic race between Tony Elias, Cameron Beaubier at the front, and then, of course, Josh Herron, Garrett Gerloff, and Jake Lewis hammering it out for that final spot on the podium. Let's get down to Hannah, I believe, who has one of our finishers. Do you, Hannah?
Yeah, I'm with our third-place finisher, Josh Herron. You said it yourself at the start of the race. You like to battle. You fought really hard during that race. Tell us about it.
Yeah, it sucks to say when I get in third, to say that it's the hardest fought race I've ever had, but that was definitely a hard one. Having to come from 8th was difficult. I got a good start, so it made it a little bit easier, but coming from back there and having to fight with those guys was hard. I saw Raj tuck in the front. I was tuck in the front as well, but I figured maybe I can inch away, and when he went down, I knew it was mine to lose. Jake caught up a little bit, and I just put my head down and tried my hardest on that last lap, and it worked out. I just got to thank the whole Attack Yamaha team. They really been working hard to get a good bike underneath us. And after Laguna, having to race 4 races in one weekend, I figured this would be a little bit easier. It's difficult racing 4 races like that. So happy to be here. Happy to be back in Utah. It's the place I got my first podium back in '06. So good memories. And just thanks to the crowd for coming out. Thanks everybody for watching on beIN, and everybody on social media for all the motivation. And just looking forward to tomorrow and have some fun.
Thanks, Josh.
All right, so for Josh Herron, that's his 5th podium appearance on the season. By the way, Jason, it's been 4 second places, so his first 3rd place of this MotoAmerica season.
Yep, and he rode great this race, and it is a hard race because of the heat. And when you start seeing your competitors losing the front, like you saw Raj, it definitely gives you little signs and little warnings. Jake rode really amazing that race with a tire that looked like it had never really come in for him. So he kept that bike underneath him as well. But like Josh said, it was his to lose. And let's get back down to Hannah with Cameron.
Cam, you were leading a lot of that race. You took a huge risk at the end there. It didn't quite pay off. Tell us about it.
Yeah, it's always tough to lead most of the race and then come up short with second. But Tony was riding awesome. My bike was working really, really good. Struggling a little bit getting out of the last corner, but other than that, it was on rails. So big thanks to my Yamaha, or my Monster Energy Yamalube Yamaha team. Yeah, we just didn't quite have it there at the end. I tried everything I could, but he snuck up there on the inside and the left-hander, the second to last left-hander of the track, and it was just enough. And I tried to do something in the last corner, didn't really work. Went slip and sliding, but yeah, like I said, big thanks to everyone behind me, my team, Bell, Alpine Stars, and go try again tomorrow.
Thanks, Cam. Congrats.
All right, so for Cameron, 11 races in the books and 10 podium appearances. That's his 5th in second spot, and he did that by just 0.4 of a second. He gave it a go.
It'll be interesting to see what kind of strategy he comes up with tomorrow, as far as it's kind of a track where you just can't get away. And when you look at how many laps these guys have to do in a race, when you can't get away, you got to come up with a strategy of what's going to be best those last 5 or 6 laps. And what he did just now in the attitudes was a great move, but it just was just a little too late.
Well, we haven't seen him on top of the box since Virginia race number 2, and he's got his 6th win of the season. He's with Hannah.
Tony, despite a kind of crazy start to the weekend, you came out on top today. Cam was pushing you, tried to have a go at you at the end there, but you prevailed. You seemed really happy when you pulled into Park Ferme. How are you feeling?
Yes, I'm really happy. We are really happy. We needed this. The weekend started in a difficult way, but we come back quickly. We work well. I was expecting be a little bit better during the race, but it was so hot. The condition changed a little bit compared to yesterday or this morning, but we were there. I told before we could be there to fight, win or lose, but fighting until last moment, and we did it. Cameron had a little bit better pace than me. I just play my only cars, trying to brake a little bit late. In the first sector is where I could catch him a little bit. T3 and T2 he was faster, but the last 2 laps I said, okay, last effort, be close and try. And I tried to close the doors, but he was there. He passed me again. Was close, but we won. I'm happy. My team deserved this a lot. They work really hard. We come back, so let's continue like this. Will be long, but very difficult too.
Now you and Cam have gotten a little dicey in races together in the past. The end of the race there, when you weren't really sure what was going on, were you worried about, maybe some dirty racing, or were you focused on keeping everything clean?
I think when in MotoAmerica we had that problem, everybody was in alarm. Be careful if you continue doing this way. You guys, you will be penalized. So, but 1 month and a half passed. I forget that. I think organization forget a little bit, so we continue racing pretty hard. And this is racing. We love this. Some days you win, some days you lose. Some day you receive, some day others receive. It's like that.
Well, congratulations, Tony.
All right,
some
thank you,
days
Hannah.
you receive, and some days you give the receiving. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
So that was a very, very politically correct way of putting that. So, but yeah, I loved it. Good for Tony. Taking a little bit of the high road on that.
Question too, Hannah.
What
That
a
was
great
good one.
question from
Yeah,
Hannah. I mean,
yeah.
to kind of ask that question there. But Tony's in a good mood, so she asked him at the right time.
All right, so here's a look at those results as we take a look at where they come across the line. It's Tony Elias, 4/10 over Cameron Herron in 3rd spot. Gerloff and Jake Lewis, who limped across the line in 5th spot ahead of Skoltz. Kyle Wyman, Danny Essa. Cam Peterson, got to send a shout out to his team. He destroyed a bike. His crew was here until 3 o'clock in the morning, getting that genuine roaster chicken Honda back underneath him for his top 10 finish. Jeff May into the top 10 in his return to Motul Superbike. All right, we'll take a break. We have more coming at you after this, so hang tight. MotoAmerica is presented by Dunlop. Dunlop motorcycle tires are the official tire of MotoAmerica. And powered by Kawasaki. Let the good times roll. We're back here at UMC as we look at the podium. Tony Elias standing on top. And of course, there was a big move of the race when Tony had to basically wrap this one up. And we're going to take a look at this move of the race. Is Cameron Beaubier with the long face in 2nd spot. So Jason, let's take a look at this big moment here in this race because...
Well, this was just a pretty pass that Cameron did. He set this up all the way through the attitudes. He goes up underneath Tony going into turn 11. Very blind, off camera, kind of crest over the top of a hill. And it looks like Cameron's moving back over to the left, but Tony still has to drive and still finds a way to sneak up underneath him. And Cameron could have tried to close the door. It wouldn't have worked. Probably would have ran into each other again and caused all kinds of problems. Instead, Cameron protects his points lead. Tony goes on and wins and rebounds back the only way that he knows how, by winning races.
So Tony does it in fine style. Pushes Cameron a little wide, but no harm, no foul. You can see that's just part of racing and racing with Tony occasionally. So, hey, if you're young and you're thinking about coming racing, Tony is a good one to watch, a good one to really model yourself after because he is such a smart racer and understands how to get it done. Here's the point spread, 24 now for Tony Elias. You get 25 if you win. So Josh Herron is in 3rd spot as the top privateer. He extended his lead over Matthew Skoltz by a couple of points. Garrett Gerloff in 5th, Jake Lewis in 6th. Wyman, Eslick, and never thought we'd be saying this, Roger Hayden. 144 points adrift in 9th spot. You have David Anthony, who had an early exit in this one, Bobby Fong, Cam Peterson, Sebastiano Ferrero, who's not in the series anymore. That's who Jeff May took over for. So there's a look at your top 17 in points as we're back to the podium. So Cameron Beaubier will have to stare at that 2nd place trophy for a while and think what could have been. And I guarantee you that they'll be going to work on his R1 to figure out how to get him a better drive onto that front straightaway. And we'll be able to find all that out tomorrow. Thank you for joining our coverage here, the Motul Superbike class from MotoAmerica, round number 6 from Utah Motorsports Campus. For Hannah and Jason, I'm Greg.